Hello everyone, this is Kerwin Rodriguez. I am the founder and chief instructor of Green Lion Martial Arts Academy, and today we're going to be covering the myths of power punching. So we're going to go over 4 myths today. I will dispel the myths and we'll go into some reality as to how to actually deliver some power punching. So enjoy. Okay, myth number 1, more muscles, more power. Now, this just isn't true, and I don't really have to try to explain it to you too much. You can see it for yourself. Just watch any World's Strongest Man competition. There's always a guy who comes in who's, jacked up. He looks like he comes straight out of a comic book, big muscles, veins everywhere, and more often than not, he is the first one to drop out of the competition. It seems to always be this guy who is a combination of fit and chubby, but the power itself doesn't seem to be connected to the size of the muscles. So this is your first clue, right? And that's myth number 1. All right, myth number 2, effort equals power. Now, here's the thing. We're going by the lies our body tells us about power punching. And what we're thinking is that if I have to involve more effort, if I feel like I'm applying more of my energy, then it must translate into power, okay? But effort is effort. It's not power, okay? So that is the second myth. The other thing is you'll notice is you got a lot of guys who may be a boxer or a kickboxer or anyone who does some kind of karate. They don't necessarily have to put a whole lot of effort when you see the knockout punch, right? So there's a lot of things that goes into power, and that's the myth number 2. Myth number 3, more is better. Now what I mean by this is there's a tendency to think that if you just punch more, you'll be better at punching. Now this is only half true. Just because you do something more doesn't mean it's always better. More is just more. So you have to do it right. Okay? Just because you've been doing something for a long time doesn't mean you're really awesome at it. You could have been doing something a long time and really suck. So the whole point here is do it right. So there's a specific technique, there's a specific formula for developing power in your power punching, and this is across the board, whether it's boxing, kickboxing, karate, kung fu. It doesn't matter what you do. There's a specific formula, and thankfully, we've got science, and there's a scientific formula that applies to us all. So let's take a look at it. All right, now, one more myth before we get into the details. And this last myth is power punching wins fights. Now, here's the thing. Power punching can do a lot of damage. But if you ever see somebody who's just swinging for the fences, they're just hoping they connect with that one punch, chances are they're the ones that are eating the most amount of punches. Now, let's be honest. You got to land a punch for it to do any damage at all. And if you're sparring or if you're fighting or competing with somebody that has any level of skill, chances are they're not going to make it easy for you. They're going to move, they're going to block, they're going to bob and weave, they're going to move around. So you have to actually make something stick, right? So before you can actually make the power punching, make contact, you have to have some method of delivery. So power punching doesn't necessarily win fights. Hitting somebody will win a fight. And sometimes you have to do it with speed, sometimes you have to do it with a little bit of cunning. And then that'll create the opening that'll give you the opportunity to land your power punch. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get into the details of what really makes a power punch work and show it to you live. All right, guys, so now we're going to get into it. Now let's get into some nerdy stuff first, okay? This is the actual formula. The formula for power in this sense is mass times velocity squared cut in half. So no, don't worry about the cut in half part. For now, what we're looking at is mass times velocity squared. What does that mean? Mass is the weight. So now, this doesn't mean effort, this doesn't mean strength, it doesn't mean muscle power, right? So this is dispelling already some of those myths. It's plain and simple how much body weight I can put into my target and how fast I can do it. So this goes into the 2 different types of punching that you have, all right? So there's 2 different ways of delivering punch. One can be a whipping motion, so it's striking at the target, and this is something that you see commonly in boxing and kickboxing. And then you have the kind of punching that's supported by the body. And this is a little more common in systems like karate and some kung fu styles where they're actually thrusting their body weight behind it. Okay, so that goes into either ballistic punching or the body weight, or body alignment punching or bone alignment punching, and they both work. So we'll go over how this works, right? So if I'm going to use my friend here and I'm going to strike him and I'm using effort, what normally happens is effort is just an expansion of energy. So I'm going to, so there's a lot of unnecessary tension usually when there's effort, all right? There's a lot of holding and scrunching. I could sit on the couch and go for an hour and I'd probably be dead exhausted. So I want to breathe easy. I want to relax. What I want to do is get from point A to point B as quickly as I can, and the more body weight that I can put behind it, the better. All right, so we're going to show the punching here. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to show you first the way that most people will do it. They're here, they want effort, so I'm going to throw a lot of my effort into it. So I'm here, so you see I'm not really moving a lot. I'm turning my hips, which is good, but I'm not really moving a lot. I'm in here, right? I may make a lot of noise, right? And they get really loud and really scary, right? But all that does is use a lot of energy. Doesn't necessarily translate into power. Power, means I just need to get my hand from here to ideally about an inch, 2 inch, 3 inches beyond the surface of my target. And the faster I can do it, the better. Now I also want to put as much of my body weight into it as I can. So if I do this slowly, same movement, instead of just putting effort, I want to relax, I want to twist, but I also want to sink a little bit so I'm almost falling into my target. See, I'm barely touching him really with power and he's moving back because I'm actually putting my weight into it. Now I want to do that quickly. So I'm here, right? Very relaxed here, right? So I have a little bit more power doing it from a ballistic kind of punching where I'm almost throwing a ball. The ball now is my fist. I'm throwing it into the target. And that's one way to generate power, right? And I can do this here if my partner stands this way a little bit more, even from this kind of a hooking motion where I want to sink and I just want to move quick, right? Here, okay? So I can give a decent amount of power without a whole lot of effort, without winding up, without a lot of telegraph, which when it comes to fighting, that makes a big difference. The more I telegraph, chances are if you get a really good fighter, you're going to eat a couple punches before you even throw it, all right? So the other kind of punching is supported by the body. So if I'm thrusting my body behind the punch, this is a little bit more common in what you'll see in certain kung fu styles and karate styles. Kung fu may lunge in this way, or they may come in that way. Karate a little more this way. Either way, what you'll find is there's a certain kind of bone alignment. It's kind of if I'm pushing a car, and I do this, and he's going to push against me. If I'm standing like this, and he starts to push, I lose my balance. If I stand like this, and he pushes, I still lose my balance. The heel wants to go back to the ground. So I don't have the bone alignment. So this kind of goes into what you do when you're trying to push a car is you lean into it and you have this bone alignment so the pressure goes from my hands to shoulders to the hips down to the floor. That's what I'm looking for. This is why you see this long kind of stance in traditional styles, right? Now, I'm going to thrust my body weight using my legs to throw myself forward, my hips to rotate, and my shoulders to rotate as I extend, pulling and pushing at the same time. So all of that creates a lot of dynamic speed, a lot of force into the one moment of impact. Now, what I'm not doing is tightening up. I'm being really relaxed until just a moment right before contact, and that's when I want to explode. All right? This is something where in Chinese martial arts they call it fa jing. You say, it's like this quick explosion of energy that happens just in the moment before contact. Now the reason why that's so important is because what I'm doing is increasing the amount of speed at the last moment in an explosive force from maybe a couple inches in front to a couple inches behind the surface of my target. And what happens, it's a ripple effect from the inside. I have a tremendous amount of power, okay? So if I'm just using the structure alone here, and you'll see that a lot in point system sparring and a lot of, if they don't really know the formula for power, this is what it would look like. I'm here moving around, I come in, and he barely moves, right? A lot of motion on my part, not a lot of response on his part. Not what I'm looking for. So I'll go slowly first. I'm in here, I'm pushing off this back leg, turning my hips, turning my shoulders, pulling this hand at the same time I'm pushing that one. Still relaxed. Just at this point is when I put it all in. So I'm in here, right. So you see a much bigger response. I'm still punching slower So you know, based on the formula, if I do it faster, I have more power, right? So I'm here, I'll go just a little faster. So I'm here, I'm going in, right, right? One more time. Now watch closely how my hips are turning, my shoulders are turning. I'm pushing and pulling at the same time. I'm coming in, that's it. All right? So this is your formula for power punching, yeah? So you want to turn your body, get more movement, not more effort, not more strength, not more tension, more movement and more speed, so that I have more of my body weight being put into the one point of the target as fast as I can. And if you could do that, then you've got real punching power.